Oh,
Now
yeah,
you got
that's
your-
what your problem is.
Now you have your horses.
Yeah.
All right, at this time, I'd like to call the Crystal Council meeting to order. Start with roll call, please.
Okay.
Sorry. Councilmember Cummings. Councilmember Kaiser.
Here.
Councilmember LaRoche.
She is here.
I thought she was here. Councilmember Parsons. Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Banks.
Here.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, Council, we have an agenda before us. Looking for a motion on the agenda. Nancy?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, looking for a second. Brendan?
Yep,
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Our consent agenda includes the minutes from October 5th for both the work session and the council meeting, and a list of license applications submitted by the city clerk to the city council. That is on file in her office. Approval of a resolution authorizing a grant application for Hennepin Youth Sports Grant program for a soccer field at Fair School in Crystal. Approval of a resolution adopting a record of decision for environmental review of the Central Core Stormwater project. And then approval of a resolution declaring public interest for Gaulke Pond Improvement project. And an approval of a grant agreement between Hennepin County for the Business Improvement District Facade Improvement Program. An assignment of the same to the Economic Development Authority of the City of Crystal. And then approval of a resolution ending the water restriction. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda. Brendan?
I have a question about one thing on it, but then I'd like to make a motion. Question before or after?
After.
Okay.
Technically, we want to do it after.
No, that's why I asked.
Either that, or we could pull it and do it.
No, it doesn't. It's
Okay.
just a general question that John can answer.
Motion, looking
Yep.
for a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Therese. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, quick question?
Yes, John, about this program. Is this for property owners only, or business owners, or both? Or
The facade improvement program?
yes?
Yes, it has to have both the business tenants and the property owner have to work in partnership.
Okay.
Because the forgivable loan is secured by a lien on the property. So it has to be both in the case where the tenant, and most of these small businesses are not the property owner, right? They're usually tenants. So we're trying to encourage everyone to participate. But they do have to work with their landlord in order to make the program work.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, do we have anyone here wishing to speak during open forum? Nobody here wishing to speak during open forum? No one online? We will skip by open forum. Just a reminder, open forum is an opportunity for citizens to address the council in this forum. Some restrictions in time, but at any rate, we want to provide that opportunity. Next, we have a public hearing. This relates to assessment rolls for 2021 delinquent accounts. We have our financial director here, Jean McGann, to address the council. Welcome, Jean.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Each year, we go through a process where we will certify delinquent accounts for collection on the next year property taxes. Receivables that are listed in the overall assessment were delinquent as of July 31st of 2021. And the resolution was initially approved on August 17th in order to bring this information forward. There have been quite a few payments that have been received since that initial timeframe of August 17th. However, at this point, we do have $422,489.84 of delinquent accounts. This includes everything from delinquent utilities to administrative citations, garbage and refuse removal, refuse and litter abatement, tree removal, weed mowing, false alarm fees, reassessment, site clearance, and nuisance charges. Now, as a comparative, there was $398,409.64 that was assessed at this time last year. So this evening, we are asking the City Council to consider accepting the resolution adopting the assessment roll for the 2021 delinquent accounts.
All right. Thank you, Jean. Any questions for Jean from the council? All right, seeing none, I will open a public hearing for testimony. Anybody wishing to address the council on these delinquent accounts? Anyone here wishing to just come forward and speak? Seeing no one approach, I will close the public hearing for testimony. Looking for a motion on this item from the council. Go ahead, Brendan.
I make a motion adopting a resolution adopting the assessment rolls for 2021 delinquent accounts.
All right, Nancy?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Next, we'll move on to our regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda is disbursements of $25,000 or greater. I will read those into the record at this time. First item is bar engineering for stormwater design costs, $34,619. Center for the Energy and Environment Home Improvement Loans cost, $87,956. For the Golden Valley Joint Water Commission, September water costs, $263,978. Midwest Concrete Specialties for miscellaneous concrete work, $46,735. Ryan Construction Company for 2021 utility reconstruction project, $202,371. Health Partners for October health insurance premiums, $124,795. Min-Para for employee city required contribution for pay date 10/1/21, $63,257. Total disbursements $25,000 or greater is $823,713.58. Are there any questions from the council on any one of these items? Okay. Looking for a motion on them? John?
Make a motion to approve the list of disbursements over 25,000.
All right. Brendan?
I second that.
All right. Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Min-Para, the employee city required contribution. I always say pay date before the date, and it's always written the opposite. I just noticed that. I've been doing it for years. It's kind of weird. All right. 6-1, 6-2. Next, we have council will receive public input on the 2022 budget and levies. We have our financial director back again. Welcome again, Jean.
Good evening again. Each year, the City of Crystal holds a public input meeting during the month of October just to offer residents of the community an opportunity to comment on the budget. So this evening, we're going to talk about the preliminary budget as well as the preliminary levy. The goals of the 2022 budget are to continue the two-year budget and financial planning cycle. We started this in 2019, where we developed our first two-year budget for 19 and 20. To maintain current services with minimal impact to residents while continuing to implement the council's 4 priorities. To continue to fund capital needs, so debt won't be needed for fleet, buildings, or equipment purchases or replacements. Also to increase the funding for street improvements and to continue to keep the enterprise or utility fund solvent with modest utility rate increases. The council does have, 4 primary goals, and the first would be a thriving business climate. On each one of these slides, you'll see different objectives that are contained under these goals. I will not go through each one of these. However, it is here, for the public to view. The second council goal is to really have extremely strong neighborhoods. And as you see, there are a multitude of items that the city has done in order to have strong neighborhoods. This is not a complete listing. However, there has been a lot of initiatives to make this happen. Sound financial policies. I will touch a little bit on sound financial policies because this has been a big objective of the City Council to ensure that, first, if we have a 2-year budget, we can really plan better for the future. To have a long-term plan so we can see where we're going in the future, so that we can plan for how different purchases, improvements, and infrastructure are going to be paid for. Some examples of that would be the police building that's currently under construction. There was no debt that was issued for this construction of the police building. Utility and street replacement, funding for the Parks Fund, and now this year there's an additional emphasis on funding for the street fund. Another objective or goal is to have a welcoming and inclusive community. And once again, there are many examples listed on this slide for your reading. As we look at the 2022 budget, I've mentioned, I think this is the third time I'll mention it, is that we are having increased funding for streets. We're fortunate that the health insurance premiums will remain at the 2021 rates, so there are no increases there. Workers' compensation, however, we are expecting a 10 to 15% increase in those rates. In addition to that, we have insurance rates that will also be increasing for property, liability, and auto. One caveat I do need to mention is that we do have all union contracts are still open for 2022, and so there will be a process before those union contracts are finalized. Utility rates are consistent with the 2018 rate study. As we look at our overall property taxes, if we look at the bottom right-hand corner, the 2022 percentage change is 5.27%. Of that amount, for general operations, we have 3.51%. Now, I mentioned before that we are increasing the allocation towards streets. So if you notice on here for street and construction, we have an increase of $131,376. It's a commitment made by the council so that we can continue to improve the streets within the city. Park improvement, we have a $126,000 increase in property taxes for parks, and this all stems from the Parks Master Plan that was adopted several years ago. And with the EDA, we did increase the EDA levy by $10,000. To show a further breakdown of what does this levy increase, what is this going to do for us? Well, operations, I mentioned, we have 3.27%. Capital needs, we're increasing that funding by 2% for a total levy increase of 5.27%. On the right-hand side of the slide, I do have the detail as far as where are these dollars going to go. I'm just going to mention a few of them. Wages and benefits, 1.46% of the levy increase is going towards that. We have a small amount, all of these are relatively small amounts, but I will point out that we have the internal service fund charges. Now what this is that is specifically for capital. So we do have a long-term plan that lays out what is needed for our capital. And in order to fund that on a pay-as-you-go basis, we do have a 1.17% increase in that. Plus, we have the 2% increase in capital funding within the levy itself. To look at the summer tax impacts, we're always concerned is how is this going to impact our residents? So we have done a calculation here. And so if you have a home value of $186,210, we are anticipating the city property tax component to increase by $54. If your home is valued at $296,300, you can anticipate about a $66 increase. Now, please note that as you look at, as property statements do come out, you will see about, 3 or 4 different components on your property tax statement. The school district has their own tax levy, as does the county, as does the city, and there are some special taxing districts that will also appear on your property tax statement itself. It's an important point to remember, as the city is only one component of your overall property taxes. The general fund this year, I do have a snapshot as to where the dollars are going. And so we have an overall balanced budget of $17,103,581. And as you can see, we have very minor, adjustments in almost each one of these categories. Interfund services transfers, once again, that's for capital needs. That is showing an increase of about 20,000 there. And then, of course, we have our overall property tax levy increase of that. Overall, it's 5.47, with 3.51% going to the general fund itself. If you look at the bottom section under expenditures, we do have a commitment to our public safety, and so we do have an increase there. Public Works is also showing a slight increase, as is recreation, but that's a very, very small increase there. As I mentioned before, we did increase the overall EDA levy by $10,000. And with that, we do have, the EDA budget or the cash reserves within the EDA have been being reduced each and every year. We do want to ensure that we have enough for, economic development, and so we do need to ensure that we continue to fund the EDA. So tonight I forgot to change this date. I apologize. We did move it from October 5th to October 19th for this public input presentation. However, the next step in this process is on December 7th. And on December 7th, the council will consider the final budget and the levies. And I'd be happy to address any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions from the council? Any comments from the council? I have one quick comment. When we talk about property tax, you talked about the property taxes and how it affects, and there's multiple agencies. We also have to remember that valuation, when it comes down to what your tax bill looks like at the end of every year, the valuation shift from commercial to residential always plays a fairly large part if you see some changes in those valuations. And we're likely to see quite a bit of that moving forward in the next year or two. So that chapter is yet to be written. So we'll look forward to working with that when that happens. So there's no action needed from the council on this. Any further discussion items? Seeing none? All right. Let's move on to, thank you, Jean. Appreciate it. That was a great presentation. I thought it was even more clear than the normal ones. So I thought it was right on. And hearing things more than once is not such a bad thing. Next, we have John Sutter, our Community Development Director. He's going to address the council in relationship to the Crystal Vision Clinic. Can you tell us about that, John?
Thank you, Mayor Adams, council members. Good evening. So I think you're all familiar with the vacant lot just north of Crystal Medical Center at 5700 Bottineau Boulevard. And we're excited to see that there is going to be a new medical building built on that site. Specifically, Crystal Vision Clinic is proposing to build a new home for their clinic and their operation on that site. So we did do our standard location mailing, 500-foot radius, and as part of our equity inclusion efforts, we now mail to not only property owners, but also residential or business tenants within that notification area. I think that's somewhat unique to the city of Crystal. This is a 10,700 square foot vision clinic that would be located at the property currently addressed as 5736 Lakeland Avenue North. When it's built, it will be addressed as 5730 Bottineau Boulevard because Lakeland Avenue North no longer exists. It was removed by Hennepin County when they reconstructed County Road 81 about 10 years ago. The property is zoned commercial, and again, the property also is vacant It had a commercial building on it that the county demolished in order to do the County Road 81 project. Adjacent north uses to the north are the Crystal Airport. The south, again, is Crystal Medical Center. To the east are some single-family homes, and across the highway in the North Lions Park neighborhood are also single-family homes. Here is a 2020 aerial photo showing the location of the property. And here is the site plan. Now, I do have additional plans on later slides if you have questions, but I wasn't going to go through all the plan sheets because that's something that city staff have done along with the Planning Commission. But this site plan, I think, shows you the basic layout of the site. So you can see the building will be located kind of in the northeasterly part of the property. Just east of that, between the building and Colorado Avenue, would be the stormwater infiltration basin. And then the parking lot would wrap around the south and the west sides of the building. I will pause here and ask if there are any questions on the site plan. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but I know there's a lot to take in here. So are there any questions on the site plan before I move on?
Council questions? Seeing none, John, go ahead.
So the building, again, will be just under 11,000 square feet. The main floor will be about 9,500. This is the layout. Again, these are probably details that we don't need to go into, but just to show you kind of the scale of this new facility. And then there will actually be an upper level that will have some kind of limited uses, and that'll be just under 1,300 square feet. And that will sort of kind of be not hidden, but kind of embedded in sort of the roof area. So it really, when you see the building elevations, you see that the most prominent features are going to be the main floor with all the windows and the brick and so forth. So, in terms of the site plan, it meets all the setback requirements. The main floor, again, will be 14 feet tall, but then there will be, with the upper floor, the portion with the upper floor will be 26 feet tall, well under our maximum height limit. The maximum number of parking spaces under our ordinance is 52. The property owner is requesting a variance to have 57. And the city staff and the Planning Commission both support the variance based on this site being much more auto-dependent than most of the commercial properties in Crystal. Think of the area around Target, the area around Becker Park. There's a lot more pedestrian access, a lot more pedestrian activity, whereas this site is not quite in that pedestrian-oriented area, and so it just makes sense that the property owner would need more parking to make their site successful. Stormwater management has been addressed through the site plan and the standard erosion control measures during the construction process. And then no trees will be removed from the site. There really aren't any on the site. And 20 new trees will be planted. So the Planning Commission did unanimously recommended approval. It meets the requirements of city code, including the variance criteria. And they did recommend approval with the conditions in the staff report, and no one attended the public hearing to provide comments. So our request for you tonight is to adopt the resolution approving the site plan and the variance as recommended by the Planning Commission. Construction is expected to start late this year with completion in 2022. And I know both Drs. Endres are here tonight if you have any questions for them about the project. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the council.
All right, thank you, John. Questions for John? Go ahead, Nancy.
I'm real excited about the expansion, and I went to you years ago, and then a change in insurance forced me to go elsewhere. However, I got the insurance back. Yay! Looking forward. But I wanted to ask, what's happening with the old space? Are you selling that, or okay, great. And when does construction expect to be done? Or finished, yeah.
So, could somebody come up here and talk? There's people who are probably watching this online, and they're not going to be able to hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So thank you.
Hi, I'm Rita Endres, and I'm the wife of Dr. Scott Endres and the mother of Dr. Chase Endres. And then I've been helping with the business for a few years, so helping with this project. So, yes, it should take about a year, and so we're hoping that it'll be done by the end of 2022.
And currently you'll stay at your location until
Yes,
completion,
until that
which is
time.
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then, yes, we are selling that building.
okay, great, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you. I was thinking about the conditions. Were there, I don't recall the conditions. Do you remember what they were? Can you remind me of what they were?
The conditions, Mayor Adams, are that they have to build it in accordance with the site plans that have been approved, assuming you approve them tonight. And they're all kind of the standard conditions. They have to have a site improvement agreement with an escrow deposit. The one that's kind of unique in this case, though, is that because of the proximity to the airport, they have to get a letter from the FAA where the FAA confirms that there is no airspace issue with the runway approaches. There won't be in this case, but we just need to see the letter before we issue the building permit. And then everything else, compliance, no waiver, binding effect, and acceptance, those are all standard language that the city attorney has written into the approval resolutions for this type of approval.
Okay, so nothing too unusual. Great. Awesome. Nancy,
I'll make a resolution.
or a motion?
When we're ready. Oh, I'm just making up words tonight, sorry about that. I'd like to make a motion, if I could, for resolution approving a site plan and variance for 5736 Lakeland Avenue North.
All right, excellent. Brendan?
I'll second that motion.
All right. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, congratulations. Here we go. Yes. That was 3. No, you're not required to stay, however. It's not rude to leave. You're not going to be rude. Yep, thank you. All right, the council will consider first reading of an ordinance amending the city charter. Our attorney, forgot his name.
Jason Hill.
Jason, thank you, is here to address the council. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The city council and the city's charter commission have been working for a number of months on a kind of a comprehensive update of the city's charter. I'm pleased to report there is some fruit for from those labors. On October 7th, the charter commission approved a resolution recommending proposed amendments and recommending approval by the city council. Those amendments were last reviewed in city council work session in September 23rd, and there are no changes from those amendments to what was approved by the charter commission. The next step is a public hearing and the first reading today and a second reading. The council authorized notice already, which has been completed for the public hearing to take place on November 2nd. So what we are recommending is that the city council pass a motion approving the first reading of the ordinance amending the city charter, and then a motion to set that public hearing for November 2nd, as well as the second reading of the ordinance at the November 2nd city council meeting. And I will note again, there's been some discussion. Ultimately, there is a unanimous vote of the entire council that's required for the charter. That is not required tonight for the first reading.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason on this one? Nancy?
Just a real quick one. Chrissy's not here tonight, but at our October 7th meeting, I'm on the Charter Commission. We caught a couple of typos or grammatical things that I believe were fixed. I
Correct.
didn't have my notes with me, but I
Yep.
just want to make sure those edits
Yep.
were made.
Yep.
Great,
Yep.
that's perfect.
They've
Thank
been
you.
fixed. Thank you for catching them.
Sure.
All right. Looking for a motion then. Brendan, or John, go ahead.
Sure. I make a motion adopting the comprehensive amendments to the Crystal City Charter.
All right, thank you. Brendan?
I second that motion.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
And then we need a motion setting the public hearing for November 2nd to consider the second reading.
All right, I'll jump on that. Oops.
We didn't give you
Well,
verbiage.
you didn't give me
sorry.
verbiage.
Yeah,
All
we
right, so I
didn't
make a
give you
motion
verbiage.
I make a motion to set a public hearing for November 2nd, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right,
I'll second that.
thank you.
And the second reading.
In the second reading.
Yeah.
So I have to make a motion to set a public hearing for November 2nd and the second reading of the amendments to the Crystal City Charter,
Do we even remember what date that is?
November 2nd.
It's all November 2nd.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I
I'm
still,
I think that's the one thing I got right, you know?
and I still second that.
I know you do. It's on the 2nd of November. All right. We got that second. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right.
You pleased? No.
Next, the council will consider approval of the 2022 health insurance contributions for law enforcement labor services, Local 44. Kim Terrace is here she's the Assistant City Manager to address the council. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. So earlier this year, the council approved a 2-year agreement with the Local 44, which is our police officers, which covers the years 2021 as well as the years 2022. The wage was settled in that agreement. However, a reopener to settle health insurance premiums was called for within the agreement. So as indicated in your previous presentation from Jean, insurance premiums for our pool went through the bidding process. She didn't talk about that part, but it resulted in some savings, which allows us to keep the contribution stable or even slightly lower. So as part of that practice, the city and the employees are continuing to share in the cost of the premiums, and they're listed in your memo. We negotiated the employer contribution as well as a change to one of the other agreement or articles is to change the opt-out up to $225. The 2022 proposed budget includes sufficient funds for this proposed settlement, and we recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Kim. Questions for Kim? Seeing none. Brendan?
All right, I make a motion approving the 2022 healthcare contributions for law enforcement labor services, Local 44.
Awesome. Nancy?
I'll second. It's so
All right.
much easier when I say.
Good planning.
Yep.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, Kim, for the next item on the agenda, which is health insurance adjustment,
Wages and benefits
wages and benefits.
for non-represented
There we
employees.
go.
Yeah, so along the same lines, so as we discussed, the labor agreement for Local 44 police officers calls for 2% in 2022. The Local 56, which is our police supervisors, will be going to mediation here in November, and contract negotiations with Local 44 for the year 2022 will begin shortly. We are recommending at this time the 2% increase for non-represented employees, and this percentage is consistent with the Local 44 and our internal comparisons or counterparts, as well as with the council direction. The health insurance is the same as just what you approved. And again, the 2020-2022 adopted budget includes sufficient funds for this settlement or this adjustment, and we recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Kim. Questions on this one? Seeing none, looking for a motion?
I'll attempt, go.
Go, no, you go.
Therese, go ahead.
No, do it. You can do it.
I'm making a motion to approve the 2022 wages and benefits for non-represented employees.
Awesome, thank you. Looking for a second, Nancy?
I'll second.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. That is our agenda for the evening. We do have a couple announcements. The next council meeting will be November 2nd at 7 p.m., and that's here at City Hall in the council chambers. Reminder that council meetings and work sessions are open to the public. Current and previous meetings are available for viewing and listening on our website, crystalmn.gov. Any other announcements? Anything we're missing? Kind of a short list. I'll do quick. No?
I saw John raise his hand.
Oh, he's going
ready
for
to
Just going to report in on biblical citizenship class. We had our first meeting last night. It was pretty well attended. You can still sign up for that at patriotacademy.com. Just search my name or Crystal, and you should be able to find that class. With that, John?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Nancy?
Second.
All right. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Have a great night.
One day I'm going to just say nay to just do it.
Just because?
Just because.
Want
Roll
to be
call vote.
contrary?
Just because.